Hi, everybody. This is Brian Trendler, and welcome to Shut Up and Laugh. I run a tiny little podcast in the Pacific Northwest. Been doing it for just over a year and a quarter now, and I get the absolute honor to get to sit now virtually across the, once again, virtual table with really amazing people that I absolutely love having interviews with. Some folks I know, some people I have a deep, dark, sordid history with. Other people are completely new to me, and that's all part of the joy of doing this. The point of Shut Up and Laugh is to bring humor to the table, to prove that humor heals, and to talk about things that people have been through in any way, shape, or form, whether it's adversity or just damned funny things. But before I get to introduce my guest today, I just want to give a quick shout out to my sponsors. First one being Dreamosity, Marcel Allen, my business partner actually in Laugh Tech, but she also runs a social media training company where she teaches people everything they thought they knew about running social media successfully, and she gets them on the right path. LT's Pet Sitting, Linda, she will go to your home, whether you're out and about on a vacation or you can't get to home in time to take care of your furry four-legged friends. She visits and or does overnights, and she'll treat your pets as if they're own. Last but not least, Gentle Frog Custom QuickBooks Training. The longest business name in the world, but Rachel Barnett is one of the Pacific Northwest's highly regarded and rated testimonials all over the place, teaching you QuickBooks training, getting you amped up and ready to run your business successfully, or just like Marcel, she'll point out all the things you've done wrong in a kind way and teach you how to better operate that system. So if you're interested in becoming a sponsor for our show, because darn it, I would love to support my kids who are eating me out of house and home, you can go to anchor.fm/shut up and laugh, click the sponsor button, and you can start as little as 99 cents a month and go up to whopping $5 or more. Pick your poison, but I appreciate your support. So without further ado, I get to welcome the amazing Rebecca Murray. Hello there.
Good morning. How are you?
How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Yep, got some sleep last night. That's always a good start to a morning.
Sleep is good. Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, Rebecca, I'm really, really excited to interview you today. And you already know why, but my listenership and now my viewership with these recorded Zooms, you actually are one of the first people in a long time that hasn't listened to or watched any of these interviews. So this is strictly a first-time experience. Are you trepidatious at all or
I'm a
nervous?
little embarrassed. I'm feeling a little embarrassed that
Okay.
that you know a little bit about me and what I do proceeding today, and I haven't watched or listened to one of your episodes. But we talked about this, and I
Yes.
plan to.
Okay. Well, you're not
Maybe even
obligated.
this one.
Well, you should watch this one and listen to it as well,
Yeah.
and push it out to your network, because I'm sure this will be the thing that will make you even more amazing and successful than you are already, right? This is
I hope
your
so.
ticket, right?
Yes.
Little tiny Shut Up and Laugh broadcast out of my den, proverbial COVID-based home office. So,
And my spare bedroom. Right.
and your spare bedroom. So listen, we really have nowhere to go but up at this point.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's do it.
So I'm going to get to know you today, and everyone else gets to have the joy of getting to know you. I know you a wee bit, and I'll explain about that in a few minutes, but I do a deep dive into people's sordid, dirty little pasts. And really that boils down to a couple minutes on Facebook and LinkedIn or whatever, just to find out some of the basics about you. But you are a business owner.
Mhm.
And you are an author. We'll get into that in just a bit. You live in Mount Vernon area, which is
Mhm.
gorgeous. Good choice. It's an absolutely splendid area. And again, we're gonna cover this, but I'm stoked for you. You are a brand new author of The Bird and the Hippo.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to hearing about that more. You are part of a company, and I wasn't sure if this was a typo or not on your profile. It says, I thought Virtual Image Master, but it's
Mhm.
spelled Vitual, Vitual. So I wanted to ask you, was that a typo, or is it called
Yes.
Vitual?
Thanks for pointing out the fact that I still can't spell, even with spell check.
I'm
I
so sorry.
have struggled with spelling. When I was in the third grade, I do remember entering a spelling bee and
Did you spell it
realizing
B?
that was not going to be my future. So thank you. I will fix that. And if you could specifically point out, is that on LinkedIn? I hope
That's
not.
on Facebook. And did I mention how nice you look today?
Okay. Thanks.
We're just going to awkwardly move on. Okay, so Virtual Image Master, that is the name of the company that you are part of. Now, is that your own company or is that
I am a virtual image master,
you? Okay. Oh, okay.
a self-proclaimed
Oh, I
virtual
thought, okay,
image
see,
master.
this shows my background hunting skills. So what is the name of the company, or is it just a Skagit Valley, what,
It's Skagit.
community?
I have a marketing company,
I'm so
production
confused.
company,
Okay,
Skagit Media Marketing. So basically what I do is video production, photography, anything that can go online or in print, but although
okay.
who prints these days, I don't know. Who
Print. I'm a
do people
designer
print?
too. Print's dead. Come on.
I have a printer downstairs and actually did print something yesterday, so that was good. But yeah, so I have a production company and then I have a speaking and coaching business. So
Gotcha.
keynotes, workshops, and coaching others to bring their amazing selves now virtually to
Yeah.
the world in a spectacular form.
Outstanding. You said that way better than I could have with any of my background check stuff. But I did put Skagit Media Marketing. So I did know that that was at least a company. And I don't know why I'm feeling defensive now, but that's where you are and work and inspire and do beautiful things. Okay. Um, I'm
Probably
curious.
because you're one of the only podcast hosts that would point out a spelling error to a guest. Maybe.
Well, but so many people misspell business titles on
That's true.
purpose to sound witty or whatever.
Oh no, that's
And
not
I
me.
wasn't sure if that was wit or if it was a whoops.
Is definitely in the whoops
Okay.
categories, but
All
thank
right.
you for pointing it
Well,
out.
this is going great. I just wanted to, yeah, thanks for tolerating my garbage. You studied, well, BS, that's either Bachelor of Science or Bolshevik, in nutrition and exercise psychology at UC Davis. What?
Yes, that was exercise physiology,
Physiology. See, I
which
can't read.
which has, yes, UC Davis. Yeah, well, here's the deal. I wanted to be an actress. My
Okay.
mother said I would starve, even though I got a scholarship to a theater college, a
Super
dramatic
supportive parenting.
college.
Okay.
I decided then to go into medicine, which was my second choice.
Okay.
Third choice was to be the president of the United States, and that I abandoned about the age of 10.
It's
So I
not
had
too
these two
late.
choices. I went to so I basically that's a pre-med degree, nutrition and exercise physiology,
Sure.
and I was planning on using that to pursue pre-med, and then I realized you have to spend a ton of money and tons of time in medical school and
Yeah.
loss of sleep and all
Like
of that,
100
and I'm like,
years.
forget that,
Yeah.
forget it.
Okay. So naturally you went back to
I
well,
went
actually, you didn't
into
really go back.
finance.
You just, yeah. Well, yeah,
Still
that's
can't
that.
balance a checkbook.
I can't believe your mother said that. I can't get over that. I'm actually stuck on that right now. I mean, I
Mhm.
went to an art college because I knew that math and foreign language destroyed me, barely got me out of, the system, for lack of better words. I had to run fleeing, scampering back into the forest with barely passing grades in those subjects. So that's why I was like, I gotta go to art school because, there's hope for me. I mean, and then at Cornish College of the Arts, they had an English 101 class with an intake survey that I failed.
Oh,
I had to do those sentence diagram thingies, and I had never done that. Like my original schooling never taught me that. So here I am, a college person, having to get into an English 101 class with an Iranian teacher who was an amazing woman, but she was also, quite honestly, she was a Nazi. It was a pass or fail class, and she made us do like all the states and all the capitals. And I'm like, what does this have to do with English 101? And I barely got out of that class.
oh
So
my goodness.
I almost wish I had a mother at that point that would have just said, leave, go to med school if you can't do anything else.
But this is an old story, though. You think of so many people who have abandoned their dreams for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And if somebody has an idea to be a musician, an artist, something in the arts, many parents, not just I mean, many parents would say the same thing to their child.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be a starving person on the street. I don't want to be supporting you for the rest of your life. So
I've
why don't you pursue
already changed the
something to
locks.
make you money?
Yeah. Yeah, but see, I think, and this could be a whole nother podcast for any parent out there. This could be a whole lesson on how to say that without scarring your child and having him or her reflect on that 30 years later on a podcast. Because I can see you twitching right now. I mean,
It's
there's hidden
reflected in this book. This
exactly.
this whole message is reflected actually in this book. It's a
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Well, okay, so we're not gonna jump to that, but I want to cover some. Okay, so now we're at the question part of the agenda here, because I go into these with rigid agendas, completely not flexible. Um,
Like you.
yes. Well, obviously you've seen me on stage, so yes. So you and I met through Toastmasters.
Hmm.
And I have seen you shine on stage. I'm assuming you've seen me flicker on stage in some capacity. Um, and you also last year had my other company, Laugh Tech, and Marcel. Oh
Hmm.
yeah, I just derped there. That's where you met Marcel. Um, we presented for an education session for the
Right.
Toastmasters organization. I'm forgetting what that day was called
Yeah.
in Toastmaster
I'm
lingo.
I'm forgetting what that day was called too. Basically, we decided not to have a fall conference,
That's what it
and that
was.
was a
Yes.
a district-wide education day. It was a sort of a train the trainer, a higher level training where we had over 100 Toastmasters from all over the region come and learn from
Yeah.
those who teach others,
Yeah.
facilitation skills, teaching skills, how to help people learn.
That was so much fun,
Yeah, it
and they
was.
were so gracious, and you were gracious, and I didn't mean to sound surprised there, but there was so much positivity in the room. It was great for Marcel and me. See, this is why I failed English. Um,
Yeah,
we
I can't
literally
help
were
you there either.
we were blown away by the amount of engagement that we got from everybody. They seemed very hungry to learn, and that's what I
Hmm.
loved about that. So thank you for
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
And then you and I have actually shared a little stint on stage together as 2 years ago now. We
Yeah,
traveled through time and musical space with a tribute time machine.
that's right. That was
I
really
was
fun.
I was a very shaky captain.
I
you were
thought you
one of
did
the
great.
you were one of the crew, and
Yes.
I'm curious. So here's your first question. I know I've just talked on ad nauseum here. I want to hear, and I have spoken to no one else about this. I want to hear what your experience was like on stage. And that's not having to do anything with me. I want to hear what you went through and what you liked about it. And did you have fun and all that? Because I know what I experienced. So how about you?
Yeah, I felt like it was great to be not only on stage again, but the whole behind the scenes, backstage experience to me is all part of the fun, where everybody, cast and crew, beforehand and during the performance, that's where we come. If we're not on stage, we have to either be quiet or we're getting something to eat, and we're just relaxing together before the 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 big before the curtain opens. There's all that buzz and excitement, and I really have missed that. The last time that I was in a production was Fiddler on the Roof. That was in Everett.
Okay.
I played several roles in that, and then I was actually at that theater because I used to live in Everett, in my 40s, in another production where I sang and danced. I'm never like the main. I'm never selected as a main character. I'm always in the cast, which
So
I feel
yeah, sure.
totally comfortable with and have a great time.
Well, you are made to be in front, absolutely, and it's their loss for not choosing you. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you could feel the energy in that equivalent green room, which for anyone
Mhm.
listening or watching, Everett Historical Theater is a gorgeous theater, and they're downstairs, they're below is like a World War II bomb shelter,
Yeah.
and it's gone off. There's
The
like
little
one plug.
bathrooms and
There, there's like a questionable bathroom. Um, there's one plug to run the entire place. Actually, I think it runs all of the lighting and sound system too upstairs. But it's still a great place, and the cast was amazing. The crew, the musicians, Arnie and Jackie Bailey, ran this dog and pony show, and it was so much fun, right? And I got to
Yeah.
reconnect with one of my TV heroes, Pat Cashman, who I met.
Oh,
I met
yeah.
25 years ago, and I'm still mad he didn't remember me, because I'm so memorable. But he was gracious and kind and funny, and
Hmm.
he kept looking at me like, "You are still in my dress up room. You realize that?" I was like, I'm sorry, I'll leave. But that was really just a small closet that we crammed him in when we didn't need him. But it was such a fun experience, wasn't it? I would do it again.
Yeah, it was. One of my starkest memories though was we had the kids from the high school come and do our makeup. And so this young lady's doing my makeup. I want to say she was 15, 16 years old. And she kept commenting on my hair. She said, my mom and I just drive around and we point at ladies like you with white hair and we say, I'm going to be natural like that when I have white hair. She
Oh,
said, you look what did she say exactly? It was not a compliment, but I think she meant as one. She said, And you look a lot younger than you really are.
oh,
Like you're probably really 75." And
oh
okay, I
God.
was only 57 at the time.
Huh.
And you know what? I didn't even I'm pretty sure I didn't even flinch. I just thought, she goes, "So you're 75, but you look a lot younger." Something like that. Like it's a compliment, right? And I thought, I'm going to use this to make people laugh. And I did at my earliest opportunity. And she didn't say, maybe probably have the words and the timing a little bit off, but it was so funny. She was funny to me. I didn't take it as an insult, but I'll never forget it.
I was gonna say during the murder trial, you can say that, when you're on,
I thought
you're up
people
there in
were a
the
lot
pulpit.
older than they really were when I was her age. I think we all have a warped sense of age when we're
Yeah,
young.
yeah.
Becomes a lot clearer to us as we age.
Well,
And
uh, I have learned that "out of mouths of babes" quote has a whole new meaning when it's out of the mouths of millennials, because the actual snowflakes actually come out in their breath. It's like crystallized and it falls on your lap, and you're left with this: what in the heck did I just hear or witness? You handled that well, uh, way better than I
so,
would have.
yeah, I know she did not mean to offend me. She meant to do the opposite. So that's how I decided to take it.
So I don't have one better than that, but I will say that I think they were all between 12 and like 10, to be honest with you, because they were incredibly tiny, like
They were
almost
young.
Hobbit-like. They had just crawled out of the Shire, and it was remarkable to me because I'm not a fan of touching my eyes or anything around there. And as they were putting on the pen liner stuff,
Mm-hmm.
making me look
Eyeliner.
Egyptian, basically, or like very, very shocked. I mean, my eyes are big enough already, for crying out loud. I'm like, let's
Yeah, I remember
amplify
the
them.
eyeliner on you now that you mentioned that.
Oh,
Yeah.
when they put that on, I was basically crying like a schoolboy, because it just caused one or two tears. And one gal, bless her heart, right, as a tear goes down, and through the cake of makeup that they put on my cheeks, down through my fakely colored goatee, it hit this underside, and the gal goes, "Let me wipe that off your waddle." And that was the first time everyone had basically bluntly pointed out that I am of the age where
Yeah.
there's a little bit of loose skin down there.
Yeah, it's
And
horrifying. Not that you're horrifying. It's just horrifying to notice that in one's self. I always try to get a shadow underneath here,
yeah, or stick your
as you
chin
as
out.
you can
Like, this is
as you can
natural.
tell.
This is a natural look right here.
Yes.
This is me. This is my natural non-waddle look.
Well, I
So
thought with all of that eye makeup that you looked like that you could have easily tried out for Rocky Horror.
that or Johnny Depp's like Pirates of the Caribbean thing. I could have
Yes.
just switched hats and been all like, "Oh." Yeah. I don't know why that choice was made. Maybe it's Jackie or Arnie's fault. Maybe we
It
should
looked
have them
good.
on. Just
It looked
work them
good.
into this video real quick. So anyway, um, that was fun. That was amazing. I loved your description of the whole experience. And I can only hope to be, frankly, on stage with you again at some point, because you and the rest of the cast were just a hoot, and I just adored you all.
It was
So
so
thank you
fun.
for that. Okay, it is time for you to shine even brighter than you are right now. Hold up your book, girl. You are a new author. The Bird and the Hippo. I want everybody to run out and buy this book right now. It is described as a childhood story, an adult collaboration, a journey of healing, friendship, and acceptance, the way things are. That sounds to me like a whole big cup of metaphors in this book.
Yeah.
Tell us about it. Tell us about the inception. I know that you
Okay.
founded this or refound this story
Yes.
from when you wrote it ages ago. So let me
Yes.
shut up now and tell us about your new book.
Okay. Okay. Yes, this story, well, it starts with finding this story was the reason I found the story, because if when once you get to my age, if you're a collector of cards, letters, stories, which I have these little collections, some in the barn, some in shoe boxes, of childhood memories. And we have these things, and actually, I'd been thinking up to that point, no one's going to want any of these things, like letters from my grandparents
Yeah,
who are now gone. And when I'm gone, I don't have children of my own. I have a stepson. Um, but he's not going to want any of these things. So I had actually been thinking about, prior to finding this story, just putting everything in a big pile in the middle of the yard and burning it all, because
wow. Okay,
if
that's one way.
just to get rid of it,
Yeah,
so that somebody after I'm gone, which may be 20, 30 years and now, it could be next week, doesn't have to sort through it or feel guilty, like, oh, these are all Rebecca's
sure,
personal things, what should I
sure.
do with them? Take them to the dump? I mean, that would feel bad. So I
Yeah.
was just going to take care of that. Then my best
Burning
friend,
seems a little aggressive, though. The
yeah,
whole
it
burning
does,
thing, the fire.
but
Very cathartic.
I didn't want to take him to the dump either. I just thought about, ashes to ashes kind of thing.
Okay, so you were going it more of the peaceful route versus literally
Yes.
like car bombing it type of thing. Okay,
Yes.
okay, good.
Right, right. Just sort of giving it back to the earth or the universe, and then not worrying about it anymore.
So
He's
there
covered.
wouldn't be any maniacal laughter during the burning process.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to
Yes.
make sure that we're clear, and I don't have
It,
to
it'd be
check off
more
my
of a
list for the.
sacred, prayerful experience.
Okay, so very cathartic, very relaxing, a
Yes.
release, if you will,
Correct. Correct.
versus the voodoo doll was also in there melting.
Right.
Okay, okay,
So I'm having these thoughts, and then this would have been, I believe, in the fall, was it 2017, when the first California fires? I think it was 2017, wasn't it?
I think
When
so.
my best friend, or maybe 2018, lost her home.
Oh,
Everything she owned was burnt
mm,
to the ground. Everything
horrible.
turned to ashes.
Sure.
So I reach out to her, and I'm thinking, gosh, I'm glad I didn't do that with my stuff, because I have a lot of memories tied in with her from high school and on forward, her wedding, all those things. So I call her and I say, I'm going to look through everything I own. I'm going to find everything that's connecting me to you, and
Oh,
I'm going to send it to you. Yearbooks, all of that kind of stuff.
that's beautiful.
So while I'm going, now it took me a few months to
Yeah,
get up the courage to start that process, because when you have decades of things like that, what I was fearing is being, opening Pandora's box
yeah,
and being pulled into a black hole, memory after memory after memory, and hours and hours and hours and hours. And I just simply didn't have the time. And it frightened me a little bit,
sure.
actually.
Understandable.
So after months of my promise, kept pecking at my head, remember you promised, remember
Yeah.
you promised. I finally started digging in. That's when I found the original story of The Bird and the Hippo that I had written in January of 1972, complete with my teacher's, and this is how I know that I've been a bad speller for that long. is because the spelling is atrocious. The spelling, the punctuation, it's hilarious. Actually, it's so bad, but I am a bad speller to this day. And now I can
Own
embrace it.
it.
It just is part of me.
Embrace it.
Yeah.
Fix your
Yeah.
Facebook profile. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes. So
Continue.
I found the story. I was actually quite impressed with it because it has a big adult message to it. I called my mom. I said, I just found this story. Do you remember me writing this? She goes, well, that must have been after we got back from Africa.
Mm.
And and I'll get into that story a little bit. So the whole book is a story about a bird and a hippo, both of which we saw, in Africa, where you see the little birds riding on the hippos, and
Yeah.
they're symbiotic. They pick things
Little
off of
cleaner birds. Yeah.
little cleaner birds. Yes. So
That's
this is
their
it's a
nickname if you
story
did.
about a relationship, and I'll just show this. So it was published. That was the first time it was published, was in the 5th grade, because there's a little note by the teacher saying, should we put this in the book? Meaning there was a book that was published every year in this Mission San Jose elementary school. So
Mhm.
that was the first time it was published, was actually in 1972. I found the story and I thought, this is so fun, and I love doing character acting. So I started taking it around to different Toastmasters clubs and performing it, memorized it, performed it.
Wow.
And
Okay.
every single time I did, people said, you need to publish it. You need to publish it. You need to publish it. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
The third time I performed it was at a friend of mine who is from Africa. She had a wonderful outdoor African feast where she invited 16 people.
Wow.
They live in Edmonds. And as the night was winding down, this was all outside, they had this big fire pit. And I said, I have a story that I can share. So I stood around the fire pit and I shared the story once again. Now she's an artist.
Oh, so
And
is this Karen?
this is Karen.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Karen
But it
Exter, the illustrator of
Exter,
this book.
yes. It took me a
Wonderful.
year to get up the courage to ask her. This is a big ask.
Yeah. Of course it
To,
is.
would you illustrate my book, right? I felt like it couldn't be published without amazing art. So 1 year later, I called her very timidly, expecting her to say no, and she said yes. She
Brilliant.
just felt called to say to do this.
Yeah.
She said it was like she heard a voice saying, just do this.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
that's the adult collaboration part.
Wow.
And she's actually going to illustrate my next book, which is already written, that I wrote three years ago. And it's animals. I'm a big animal person, and which is part of Washington State history. It's about Pasado, the
Oh, yeah.
donkey, and about Pasado's law. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
I
it's the
am.
animal.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I've done work for their organization from the graphic design perspective many years ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
Pasado's story has never really been told. And I'm working with Pasado Safe Haven Animal Sanctuary to publish this book, this story, and to have it help them raise money.
That's wonderful. Absolutely amazing. So listen, I love the fact that you pulled this story out, literally from your past. And by the way, I was born in 72. So, but that's when you wrote this, and you said, like you said, you were in 5th grade. So what, that's 10 years old, 10, 11, depending on when you were born, right? I have a 10-year-old, and she writes the same types of things, and the stories, the art that she comes with, the both come first. I don't know how she manages that, right? But she's literally writing and drawing simultaneously. But then I can imagine finding something like this many, many years later. And I have a weird question for you, but I loved how you said on your website how very little changed, right? Very little changed from the actual content perspective.
Yeah,
But you did have
nothing
to.
actually changed from the content.
Okay.
It's just the art.
Just the art. Okay, so I misread a portion, because as an author,
We corrected the spelling. I take that back. We did correct the spelling.
Sure,
and the punctuation.
which would make sense, just because some people twitch. But Did you find any of those creative choices in putting this together with the illustrations and the original storyline? Did it affect your experience at all, positively or negatively, when you created this book, or was it all just big collaborative joy? Because some people find that the vision shimmers a bit, it changes when, again, dedicating it to print with or without the illustrator's contributions, right? But I've seen the illustrations, they're gorgeous. It
Yes.
brings
Yeah.
up memories of when I worked with Diane Hitzel, who I'm assuming you know through Toastmasters. She and I produced her book 6 years ago, The Adventures of Little Peanut. I brought in an illustrator and we took her story and made this amazing kids book. So I've literally gone through what you've been through, but
Yeah.
just from a slightly different perspective. So
Hmm.
how was the experience in creating it? What types of things did you run across?
Yeah. Well, she had all of my original artwork.
Okay.
All of my everything was done in pencil. So I think I was like your daughter, write the story and draw the pictures into each page.
Yeah.
So she had all of that. But she is an artist. And so because I'm an artist and as an artist, I need creative latitude. And so I gave her creative latitude as well. And she did ask me a couple of questions. We did collaborate like on a couple of ideas that she had. I have this idea, I have that idea. But for example, this this and she's from Africa. So here's the other thing.
Oh, wow.
This is the adult brain versus the child's brain. Because really the story would not make sense from a geography standpoint. This little bird leaves Germany. Now, why Germany? I have no idea. Is flying to Hollywood, California. Wants to make it big in Hollywood.
Makes perfect sense.
Takes a left turn, takes a right turn instead of a left turn somewhere, and ends up in Africa. Crashes into a tree, falls on the hippo's back, is knocked out. He wakes up, and they become friends, Fritz and Mitty.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she was researching birds that really do start off in Germany,
Oh,
and
wow.
like she wanted to have it make sense because this is the adult brain. Like it has to make sense. It has
Yeah.
to make sense.
There has to be a migratory bird that does the exact same thing.
Yes,
Doesn't
and
know
she
their right
actually
from their left.
she found two birds. So we decided on which one. And we decided on one it's related to a dove. It's an endangered species.
We
It's
know
just
now why.
beautiful, very colorful, and that's
Mhm.
this bird.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
yes. But check it out. Like one of the things that she did. I mean, she's so like the Fritz says at one point he brings his wife back because they keep flying back to Germany and migrating and coming back to Africa every
Yeah.
year. And so this picture of them, he's explaining to Mitty that they got married. I mean, she did some amazingly creative things. And when she brought the artwork to me, this was last December, she brought everything to me. We had her and her husband Paul over for dinner. We went upstairs so we could lay it out. Some of these things are huge, some of these watercolors. First time she's ever used watercolors in her life.
Wow. Could have
We
fooled me.
spread it
That's
out.
gorgeous.
I'm looking through all of them, and then I just burst into tears.
Hmm.
It was it was just more than, I mean, it was overwhelmingly beautiful and wonderful
Yeah.
and perfect.
It's tears of joy.
Hmm.
Tears of laughter also, right? Because my
Yeah.
God, I literally, I'm reliving my experience working with an amazing illustrator named Danielle, with Diane, and the most fun we ever had were taking her pencil sketches, which are just raw and energetic and beautiful, and laying over some text and then printing it and then folding it ourselves and putting it into a really sad looking, coffee stained version that we were working through. But to watch the reaction of Diane and her husband, same situation. They saw it and they were like, oh my God. And there were
Hmm.
tears. And then I'm crying. And we were at this cafe in Bothell and people are coming by, are you okay? Because we're all crying, right? It's a beautiful experience, isn't it? To see this thing
Yeah.
build and become what it ended up as.
Yes. Yes.
Love
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
I
And
love
then
now hearing that's how it's supposed to be too. I thought we were all
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, that creative magic
Yeah.
that happens through artistic collaboration. It really
Beautiful.
is magical.
Absolutely beautiful.
Mhm.
So how long has the book been available?
Well, people are I'm pre-selling it now. I actually won't have copies in hand, and probably Amazon won't have them until sometime in December, but the first or second week of December, I'll receive a shipment. This was the very first one where Ingram is actually printing this,
Okay.
sends it off, and we look at it. Is the color right? Is the just look for little imperfections. And I decided I wanted a matte cover versus a shiny cover.
Good choice.
So they're sending us the second set, but right after that, they'll be available. So people are already buying them. I have a little link on Facebook and a link on birdandhippobook.com for people to buy it. And I also produced an audio book that is also another artist collaboration with sound effects and music.
Ah,
So you can actually hear not only the voices, the character voices, but when things happen, footsteps, or when
yeah.
Fritz crashes into a tree and falls on Mitty's back. So it's more of an immersive experience.
Oh, that's brilliant. I had no idea about that. It's
Mhm.
fantastic. So once this goes public, this broadcast, I'll make sure that I have all the accompanying links so
Okay.
people can hopefully buy 1,000 of your books, if not a million of your books, to fill every stocking. Although I don't want to roll it up, put it in a stocking. But anyway,
Right,
I'll make
right.
sure that this is available for folks because I love the story from what I saw online. I love the backstory even better, and I love the connection that you and I now have from going through that experience. And I love it, and I can't wait to participate in book two as well. So
Yes.
the next
Well,
journeys continue.
the big message in this book, in the very last sentence, and I'll just read it because this is where that child wisdom
Sure.
comes through,
It doesn't give
where
it
I
away, right? It doesn't say the butler did it.
right, right. So going back to that right turn instead of a left,
Hmm.
where this little bird, who is me, by the way, headed toward Hollywood, who never made it,
Hmm.
like I never did. At the very end, has all these friends, family, love, happiness, everything that any person could hope for.
Yeah.
And the last thing says so if it wasn't for that wrong right turn in Germany, they never would have met Mitty. The
Mm.
end. So things work out in life as they should. No, I never made it to Hollywood. Many of us never achieved our childhood dreams. However, when we look back at things that we think were wrong turns, we often find that things are exactly as they should be.
As it should be. Absolutely. I love it.
So I have my own form of Hollywood here in my upstairs bedroom. Right here. Really.
That doesn't sound weird at all. It sounds magical.
Ta-da!
Um, so you just proved my point, and it is a perfect segue into the next question. Rebecca, you are a funny person. You are great on film. I've just dated myself by calling it film, but you're great on video, and you have a magnanimous personality. And again, I'm pulling from the Toastmasters that I've seen and the videos that I've seen that earned you recently an eSpeaker certified virtual presentation presenter award or certification.
Mhm.
Probably why it's called certified. Um, Tell me about how you're using all this in your business now. How are you inspiring others? Because they're damn funny. Like I've seen you talk about lighting. I've seen you talk about like, posture. I've seen, frankly, it's a lot of things we do at Laugh Tech, but you might be doing it better. Um, I mean, like you're cloning yourself on the screen, and there's two of you, and there's one that looks like the frumpled old person, and then a standing upright person. You're funny, girl. You're doing it right. Tell us about this. How are you using humor to make these messages hit and stick?
I think it's important for any if you're going to teach people something, to be your authentic self. And my authentic self always pulls humor in. Humor's always been a, a very important part of who I am. And really, I'll take you back to, again, this book, because
Hmm.
right when I wrote this story, and how we ended up in Africa, and I actually did not know this until I found this story a few years ago. I always thought it was some vacation,
Yeah.
but what it really was
Hmm. Surprise. I'm
Oh, I'm
sorry.
afraid I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the
Tears of
comedy
joy, people.
tragedy thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Tears of joy. Anyone who's just
Ugh.
listening.
My parents had divorced. My mother divorced my father a couple years prior to this.
Mhm.
Which was so stressful to my father that he basically lost his he lost his mind.
Mm.
Let's just say.
I'm so sorry.
And within my mother was afraid because had threatened to kill her. And so, and he quit paying us anything. So we were on welfare. She sold the house, took a third of the money. We sold everything that we had.
Hmm.
And she took us to Africa, hoping that he would never find us there.
My goodness.
But she couldn't find a job. She didn't realize. I mean, she was only in her, let's see, she had 4 children. We were about a year and 2 months apart from each other. Four
Hmm.
children under the age of 11, and she was in her like 29 years old, 30 years old, something like that,
Okay.
carting around all these children in Africa, trying to find a job. She realized she couldn't find employment there. So we came back to Fremont, California, and that was that next year that I wrote this story. So I sensed we were living this little dingy apartment.
Hmm.
We'd lost our it was a beautiful, like, I think of it as like a Hollywood star's home in my mind
Sure.
as a
Sure.
kid. It was amazing.
Perception. Yep.
And so I know that I'm thinking, like, this is a big wrong turn. Our life has just taken a big wrong turn.
Hmm.
And shortly after that, we went into hiding for a year. We moved to Ohio. No one knew where we were. Everyone, our grandparents sworn to secrecy. My
Wow.
father couldn't find us, and he took his life with a gun.
Oh my goodness.
So my mother, we love Carol Burnett. Our whole family, we're very funny people. All of us, we have circus blood in our veins. So we're a funny bunch. My brother and sister and I. This would have been 1973. We're on beanbag chairs. We're sprawled out. Get to stay up a little bit late. Watch the Carol Burnett show. It's a summer evening. We're in Ohio. I still remember it's very. We had the air conditioner. It's very hot and muggy there.
Sure.
My mother walks in, turns off Carol Burnett right after Carol Burnett tugs on her ear and says, "Good night, everyone."
Not everyone. Yep.
Turns off the television because you had to do it like that in those days, and then backs up against the wall and tells us that our father is dead.
Oh,
And we didn't come together. We were all just traumatized. We went to bed, stared at the ceiling, just crying all night. But the next morning, we never talked about it. And we never talked about it. And we never talked about it. And for years and years and years and years, we never talked about it because it's just too painful.
sure.
So I find this story. And when I shared that with her over the phone, she finally lets me know the real reason we went to Africa all these years later.
Mm.
And which then ended up opening up another Pandora's box of finding out much more information that she had never been willing to share because of the shame and the guilt that she felt over my father's death. So last year, like, we never even knew if my father had been buried, where his body was. We never asked. We
Oh,
never talked about any of this.
yeah.
And so last year, as this is coming up and I'm sort of reprocessing this, was incredibly painful, still is, as you can tell. I tracked down the last remaining relatives of his 15 siblings in Kentucky,
Wow.
and I went back to visit them, went to the grave site, the graveyard, found his grave, and just tried to do some healing for
Wonderful.
that. Yeah. Which is still not, I don't know if it will ever be, actually.
Yeah.
And so this book, I've been hesitant about, this book coming out because I need to, in sharing this story, it's still, I realize I still have a lot of healing to do.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why, but maybe it can help others in some way.
Well, for starters, my gosh, thank you for sharing all of that. I can't even begin to fathom. At the same time, it's almost remarkable that it plays out like a script to a movie, and the adversity and the overcoming and the jet lag and the back and forth. And I'm now hearing these correlations back toward your book. And it's absolutely splendid that you've done this now and that you have this available to people. And I think you can market it not selfishly, not for wealth, but for the ability to share knowledge. You can market this on two levels. You can market it toward a child, and you can also market it toward an adult
Yeah.
who has things to overcome. And I
Yes.
know you'll do it with a smile, and I know you'll do it with humor, because that's who you are and what I think
Yeah.
is part of your mesh, like what's made you who you are. And once again, you're damn good at leading into segues to the next question, because I wanted to know, and I think you may have already answered it. I only think of you as someone who makes me smile. You did throughout the theater little jaunt that we did. You have prior to, like anytime I saw you in the Toastmaster environment, I was like, oh, I'm going to smile. I'm going to be made to feel good. It's now my mission to make her smile, make her feel good about herself and our interactions, kind of those little dialogues that go through my brain. But I was curious about, how is Rebecca today with the way you look at and view and utilize humor as a skill and a gift? How is that different than, say, 25 years ago, Rebecca,
Oh,
excuse me?
yeah.
And I'm sure there's been a huge change,
Mm.
but tell me how you've evolved in that sense.
And again, it goes back to the book, because one of the
I
first
knew it
things
would.
that happens in this book, when little Fritz crashes into a tree and then he wakes up and realizes he's in Africa, it says he was filled with shame.
Mm,
And I feel like I only learned about shame a few years ago. What is shame? And what I
yeah,
realized is that I'd been living my life under the shadow of shame.
yeah, yeah,
And that holds a person back from being their true, authentic, daring self, to extract courage when you have a crazy idea about something,
yep,
like that one video of the double me, for example. I have a crazy idea and I keep thinking about it and I laugh because I think it's funny. And that's usually that's my litmus test. If I look in the mirror and I make up a character or do something silly and zany and I laugh, then then I know, okay, pursue it, pursue it. Some people may not think it's funny. That's fine. But if I think it's funny, then it's worth doing because I enjoy the process.
yeah,
But here's what shame does, is it short circuits that creative process, because you're like, yeah, that's a crazy idea. That's funny. No, but it's stupid. People won't like it. Okay, forget it.
yep. Self-doubt is the killer of all things
Yes.
improvisational, right?
Right.
And also
Right.
nuggets get dropped and left behind all the time.
Right.
Always
Right.
check under your seat after you've given a presentation, right? That's what I tell people.
Yes. Or after you do something, you think, oh, that wasn't it. It wasn't as funny, or it wasn't as good, or it wasn't this and it wasn't that. And I should just
Yeah,
forget this whole thing. And I feel like over the last few years, as I've been sorting through some of these, this newfound knowledge that I have about myself, and starting to embrace um, things that I haven't even wanted to look at. Like, I'm going to shove this pain so far
yeah,
down
yeah,
inside me that it's in a deep, dark place, and I never want it to see the light of day. But giving light to it, bringing up the pain, sorting through it, and embracing it as part of who I am, I realize it's allowed me it's given me a lot more freedom in terms of being funnier, being zanier, being more present in the moment to be spontaneous.
You broke out of your bird cage.
Yes.
You literally did. That is not an inspirational thing. I just said it's an attempt to
Although
make
he's a
you smile.
wild bird, so hopefully he'd never be in a cage, but
Well, yeah,
I know what you mean.
but it's that cage inside, Rebecca. That's where I was
Yes.
going. It's
Yes.
hard to get open with the wing.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
what is the most fun you're having right now with your businesses now that you're a published author? Haha. What's the most fun
Yes.
you're having right now and why?
Oh, the most fun I'm having is performing. Performing. So I have in my studio here, I have all kinds of gadgets where I can use multiple cameras, and I've got all kinds of gear that I've accumulated over the years, and I'm able to use not only my creativity but my technical prowess.
Yeah,
Right? My
yeah,
technical prowess.
that works.
Okay, that's kind of a weird word though.
It sounds like a tiger. Yeah,
It
but
does.
but it's
Yes,
still a good word.
prowess. Um, and make my creativity all together. I here's one of my sayings is that, and I'll probably get my own saying wrong here, but basically be your own best audience. And if
Yeah,
you are your own best audience, then you'll always be entertained. So my husband will come home some nights and I have this karaoke app and I'm just singing and entertaining myself, and he'll look in and start laughing. And I'm like, this is what I do. I just need Most of the time I just need me. I
yeah.
can be totally entertained. I can record myself and watch myself, and totally, I know that sounds very self-absorbed, but I can be
No,
totally
actually,
entertained by me.
Rebecca, I honor that because right now, for example, we're filming this. Sorry, once again, dated myself. We're recording this. I'm going to go back after this. I'm going to go to my other computer that is the whatever. It runs better. I can do the post work on this.
Yep.
I hate looking at myself. I
Really?
don't like this face. I wake up every morning and go, oh, I mean, I've always had that issue, right? And I don't, and I know I need psychological help, but I know it's a confidence thing.
Yeah.
It's again, Marcel, my business partner, she hates it when I say that I think I have a face made for radio. I thought I had a
No,
face
you
made for
don't.
podcasting, and then son of a gun pandemic hit, and suddenly I'm stuck on Zoom. I don't like this. I never have. So the
Oh,
fact that you can do that and like it and enjoy your own company, I don't. And I hope maybe someday I'll
well,
get to that point, right?
and I'm not saying I
I
like
hope.
how my face looks or anything like that, because there are plenty of things that I do not like about
Sure. We all do
this.
have, yeah, yeah.
But I like it when I can. One of the things I do is I try to infuse characters and song into all of my presentations, whether it's a keynote or a workshop. I'm always looking for a way to switch it up for the audience, to engage the audience, to surprise the audience, to entertain the audience, to infuse humor and make people laugh. It's all about all of that. So I have in my other room, I've got all of these my character outfits. I mean, I've got characters that I'm just making up all the time. Men,
Great.
women, some have accents, some don't, and they all have outfits, wigs, just all kinds of things. And using this technology to switch different cameras and or go off stage and come back as somebody else again to surprise the audience. I feel like this is my playground. This is Mr. Rogers. This is Captain Kangaroo. And I don't care about dating myself, because all of those folks back in the day of early television, I feel really had to think about
Yeah,
how to use what they had. And I
absolutely.
love it. I love you trying out new things, experimenting. So it's not about, so when I say entertain, that's it's all about the feeling
Yeah.
for me. Like, is this or the feeling for the audience? Are they having a good time? Are they laughing? Are they leaning in
Yeah.
and listening and laughing? Those are
Versus
the
resting Zoom face, You fight that a lot, don't you? I do the same thing.
oh, I'm
It's
like, oh,
it's
I wonder if I can
remarkable.
just do some work here while I'm on the Zoom meeting and not look like
Exactly.
I'm doing
Have
work.
have the 10 screens open. As I told you prior to this recording, I've emailed the Zoom gods a number of times and suggested certain things. I think they should release a keyboard and mouse kit that are tied into an electroshock. Because as a host, I can systematically fry any of the people that are pissing me off because they're not paying attention, they're not focused. And
Yes.
there's about a 60% chance that their hands will be on either their mouse or their keyboard at any given time, especially if they're
Yes.
multitasking. So why not give them a 1,000-volt little hello, a
Well,
little
part of
come
the
back
thing
to
is
me
too,
thing?
i- if you're giving a presentation to then record, and this is what I used to do in when we used to meet in person,
Yeah,
is I would give a presentation and I would bring my own camera and mic, and I would position the camera so that it was in back of me, so it got the side of me, but what I'm really interested in is how the audience is reacting, and
yeah,
studying that later so I
yeah,
can improve. And now on Zoom, it's pretty awesome because you can record the audience. And what we know, if most people are laughing and there's a couple of people that are just
yeah,
like that,
tuned out. Yeah.
some people actually, I remember Vladimir Bala, I can never say his last
The
name. Very
Russian dude. Yeah, that's what we call
Balabanova, Balana. See, in Russian, there's the female way and the male way to
Yeah, I
say
just called
last.
him ballerina. He didn't like that, but it was
Okay,
easy.
yeah, probably didn't. But
Vladimir Ballerina.
he was talking about how he gave this very, very funny speech. He won an award with his speech. It was so funny.
Hmm.
And then and he's giving it to an audience, and he singles out one specific person in the audience who is not cracking a smile the entire time, not once. That person walked up to him afterwards and said, "That was the funniest speech I've ever seen."
Yeah,
So we
that's
don't
literally,
know. We can't always tell by somebody's reaction
yeah, it's the
if
pitfalls
they're
of Botox. That person was totally paralyzed.
right.
Yeah.
I guess the big thing is going back to how we feel about ourselves. Did we feel like we brought our best? Did we feel like we were totally present? Was our mindset about the audience and doing our best to help them engage and have a good time? And if we can answer that with a yes, then we know we've done it.
You're a very thoughtful presenter, and that's what I've always, well, experienced and then subsequently thought about you. And you're proving it right now because of, again, the things you do after the fact, the things you prep for during, the fact that you've got multiple outfits of scary creations and some amazing creations that you're just willing to bring forth. And I think that's absolutely brilliant. It leads us to our next question because, once again, it's literally like you're running this particular show right now because these are all perfect segues. Before we do the Jane flipped and not, because we just have a few minutes left, I want to hear about who inspired you when you were growing up. Again, Carol Burnett, I know that, so you're not allowed to mention her again
Okay.
with the ear thing. Sometimes they are on TV. Sometimes they're a public figure. Sometimes they're family, they're friends, they're a pastor, they're the flight attendant. Given that you went all over the damn map as well, who helped you? Who did you look up to, or even who looked out for you?
Yeah, I would say, and this is, my mother was so preoccupied with raising four children that she didn't have time to really pay attention to any of us. And so I would have to say, and this is no disrespect to her, because as any busy mother knows, you're just trying to keep everything together.
Yeah,
But my
yeah.
father was he was the one who gave me my first camera, and that's what I
Oh,
use to make money today. He took me to an audition for to be, I think it was like, but some show with a Buffy and a Jody. I can't remember the name of
huh,
this television show back in the 70s, but to audition for that, of course, I
sure.
obviously didn't get the part. Um, but he introduced me to musicals. I would watch, Jackie Gleason, Disney, those big names, and study them as a kid. All these funny shows, the Red Skeleton Show,
Oh yeah.
things that make people laugh and entertain. And that's really all I that's what I live for.
Yeah. And it's
That's why I'm
smart
here.
humor. It's not just
Yes,
pratfalls, it's intelligent storytelling and
right.
working and props. Like you're a child of the prop generation as
Yes,
well. Um,
yes.
I am, again, I was born in 72, so I'm a couple years younger than you. But I remember, and I don't
11
know if
years
they were,
younger.
it's, I'm not good at
I-
math either. So, but I mean, I remember seeing whether it was in later syndication, hence repeats or the original. I mean, I remember seeing um, Captain Kangaroo literally get hit in the jewels with the seal because the zookeeper dude brought him out, and the seal's like "Arr, arr," and just cracked him one. And I will never forget that as long as I live. You could hear someone in the background go to commercial. I mean, it was horrible because
oh my
Captain
gosh. Oh
Kangaroo
my gosh.
dropped like a sack of cement, and
Yes,
they
and there
tried to laugh it up. And because
Mr. Green Jeans. Oh, Mr. Rogers.
yeah.
The lady who did Romper Room,
Oh,
where
oh,
it's I
yeah.
see you. It's I see you. Engagement principles.
They were talking to everyone who saw them or even originally listened to the radio show. They were being spoken to directly,
Yes.
or
Yes.
they were being seen, which is kind of creepy if you think about it now. It's like they were breaking the fourth wall in the
Yes.
60s and
Yes.
70s. My
Right.
God. And it took a stupid Deadpool movie, 30 years later to get that to happen and make it look fresh. So, yeah, I mean, we're not fooling anyone. There's no such thing as a new idea, right? Unless
I
it's really
agree.
new.
I agree. There are
Um,
no original thoughts, only original people. That's what I always
exactly.
say.
And you're doing brilliantly. Um,
Thank you.
give us one last thing you want us to know about Rebecca.
Wow, about me.
Yeah, about you. All dressed up in a little package with a bow.
Well, I guess my message, my thought would be more of a sharing this for the audience, is that if you have a crazy idea, if you have an idea that you are feeling apprehensive about, but it doesn't go away, it's in your heart, I say pursue the crazy idea
Yes.
and uncage yourself,
There you go.
because people will appreciate it. We will all appreciate it.
That's
Do it.
perfect. That's perfect. If I could ever add anything to it, it's like, especially if it's like acid reflux, if it keeps coming back, there's a reason, right? There's a reason. And it might fail too, but who cares? Because
And what is
you
failure
try.
anyway? What is failure
My
anyway
life.
but trying something new? But
Yeah,
trying
no,
something new.
yeah, it literally is. So, okay, thank you for that. Rebecca, do you want to have some fun? I mean, hopefully you've been having some fun, but let's
I
do the
have been
James
having fun.
Lipton nod, okay? Or the tribute now that unfortunately he has passed. Um, what is one of your favorite, or sorry, now I said that the wrong way. What is one of your biggest pet peeves?
Oh, pet peeves is is people being discourteous to others.
Good.
And I can be discourteous to others, so I get peeved by my own self.
It's a self peeve. I've never
Self
heard a
peeve.
self peeve on this show. I love it. Okay. So self peeve and a pet peeve. What is a favorite place you have traveled to or would like to?
I don't travel much.
That wasn't a COVID joke.
Okay. I would like to go back to Kentucky to see my my father's remaining relatives again, and back to the Kentucky Derby, which
Oh,
I mean, to what do you call it? Downs.
uh, uh, yeah, I know what you mean, but
Dun
I
dun
just
dun
know
dun
it.
dun dun
It's just
dun
one
dun
big
dun.
left turn. That's all they're doing.
Yeah. Yes.
Isn't it the
Okay.
Kentucky Derby?
Sorry, I'm messing this up for you.
No, it's fine. No one ever messes it up. There aren't any rules here. All right, last James Lipton tribute question. If you could be known for one thing only, what would that be?
Being a funny lady.
There you go. Perfect. All right. So, Rebecca, thank you so much for taking the time to be part of this.
Thank you.